Hey, this is Christian Roldan.
And Jordan Morris from the Seattle Sounders Football Club.
And you're listening to
This is Nos Odietis. This episode of Nos Odietis is sponsored by Full Pool Wines, a Seattle-based wine retailer and proud sponsor of Nos Odietis since 2011. Full Pool was founded in 2009, is based in Seattle, and is owned and operated by longtime Sounders supporters. They offer the best boutique wines of the world to members of their mailing list, with special focus on their home, the Pacific Northwest.
Here we go. Come on! Hey, O'Shan! Let's go!
Save by Fry! The Seattle Sounders have done it! MLS Cup winners!
Here comes Ray James through the middle to crown it for Seattle! And now they truly can start the celebrations. It's the Sounders MLS Cup.
Nicola Dero leaves absolutely no doubt! The Sounders rule the region!
Seattle Sounders is going good!
They've scored! They've scored! Finally!
This feels fucking awesome.
This is a tiny dog.
Is that what you young people call twerking?
And Porter says, cheated!
You want to win? This is the Seattle Sounders, bro.
Welcome back to another episode of Nos Odietis, sponsored by Full Pool Wines. I am Jeremiah O'Shan. Today is Thursday, February 15th, and it is kit release day. Joining me to talk about the kit is our resident fashion expert, Tim Foss. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thanks. It's good to be back. Nice to be back on my old beat.
Right? Exactly. I know we've moved away from the weekly fashion commentary, which I feel like was a natural. Like the Sounders really kind of played it up for a little while, and then they haven't been playing it up quite as much.
Yeah, I think that's, maybe a system that feeds into itself, that the more commentary is, the more people are dressing for it. And
yes,
eventually it, those columns took a lot of time to put together. And
yeah, I kind of got that impression.
Just at a certain point, you gotta save it for something special.
I agree. So this is something special, I think. And it was funny. I'll talk a little bit about the evolution of sort of the arc of the narrative around this kit. Is, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, EAFC leaked. I'm going to put leaked in quotes because I'm not sure I buy the idea that this was completely accidental. I don't know. It feels like that's a big mistake to make if it was a mistake. But anyway, so EAFC puts out a bunch of kits, not all of them, but, like half of them at least. And among those was the Sounders. Of course, these are flat images. They're 2D. So you can only go off of like basic elements. And I would say the reaction was mostly pretty bad, right? Like people were not excited about this kit, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it was mixed at best.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Largely pretty negative, I think.
Yeah, like it wasn't as negative as the Jimi Hendrix leak, but it was like some loud negativity was out in the world. And then I think a lot of people did learn something from the Jimi Hendrix kit leak, and they said, well, I'm not blown away by this leak, but I am willing to hold my opinions until I see the whole thing. And then today we got the whole thing, and I have to admit, I wasn't sure how to feel about it until I saw it, and I think I kind of loved it immediately. I loved the entire presentation, the way that they even in the photo shoot, the way that they paired it with streetwear or as streetwear, I thought was really effective. I think the whole kit works together really nicely. There is a distinct retro vibe, even though it is not a throwback jersey. And the kit, the shirt itself, I'm not blown away by the shirt, but I think it works.
Yeah, I think I am more from the beginning, from the first time we saw it in the EAFC quote unquote leak. I have probably been farther on the pro side of this design than most people.
Sure.
I am on the record as not having been particularly fond of most of the Rave Green kits we've seen.
It's a low bar, I think, to compare it to the other green kits.
It is. And I liked the idea of doing vertical stripes for a while. I've wanted them to go back to, like, if they were going to do a true throwback, I would much rather see them do the 1983 jerseys than any of the other NASL era ones.
It's the only one that really has a distinct look.
Right. That navy and white pinstripe jersey with the white collar. It is chef's kiss. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think pinstripes, it is odd that it's not been grabbed hold of by American soccer teams. Like, it makes sense that
no one does pinstripes, do they?
Yeah, I think NYCFC have done pinstripes previously, which they should, because they live in Yankee Stadium. They should embrace the fact.
Kind of obvious.
I feel like there's a lot of places where pinstripes would make sense. It's a cool design element. It is funny. I initially, in the piece that I wrote about the kit, had a long digression about the fact that this kit is not actually pinstripes.
Right.
They do call out that it is a reference to the pinstripes of 1983 in the press release, but the stripes on this are technically what is called a track stripe or a club stripe, sort of depending on the thickness and bleed of colors, but it's not a pinstripe. But I think the design is really cool.
I appreciate that you went only because I know the pedants were like, we're getting ready to just jump if we called them pinstripes, but go ahead.
But I think on the whole, the design it's a departure from anything we've seen from the Sounders, really, especially in the MLS era.
I mean, yeah.
It is, I think you made a really good point that it's not a direct, like, throwback or retro design, but the design is very retro from the white collar and cuff edges. That coupled with the stripe is a very, like, 70s design. I spent a lot of time trying to find specific pictures of, like, kids in the 70s wearing t-shirts with effectively those same things.
Right.
And, like,
yeah.
Those elements exist a lot in fashion for, like, youth in the 70s and 80s. The way they've tied historical elements, like the white collar and cuffs is a reference to the 1974 jerseys. The stripes are a reference to the pinstripes from 1983. The jersey features two different greens in the stripes. It's got the aqua blue and the new version of Rave Green, but there's a darker green that they don't call out in the press release, but is the dark green from the 1974 jerseys that is kind of a no-touch thing because that's what the Timbers use now. But all the like broader elements I think are really well executed and come together really well in a design that is really cool, especially when you pair it with the aqua blue shorts and the white socks with the aqua blue stripes. It all just looks really great together, and the shirt itself looks awesome, I think.
Yeah, and I think because I saw that shirt and I was like, I don't know. And then I just thought that they did a really good job of pairing it with, sweaters, with jackets, with khaki pants, with, they paired it with real genuine streetwear, right? And I thought that was very clever because it did sort of drive home the point, like, no, this actually works as a fashion piece in a way that I would argue previous Sounders kits really didn't, or primary kits really didn't. They were, sure, you're wearing it's very obvious that you're wearing a soccer jersey, and that works on some level. But this, you could almost buy as a shirt. Like you could buy this as a fashion piece, as a, just part of your wardrobe. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to run out and buy one and start wearing it everywhere. I mean, that's not really my thing. But I think if you are the type of person who wants to, like, I would imagine this will be a very popular jersey among folks that just like to collect
Yeah, I agree. I think this lives well alongside the two most recent uh secondary kits they've released, the Jimi Hendrix and the Bruce Lee kit, just the fullness of the design. It's not just a rave green jersey with some additional details. Yeah.
Right.
I think it looks really great. I do want to, just because I think the photo shoot is so good. I referenced the brand Kith in my descriptions of it, but shout out to Mark Kastner and Ryan Krasno, who noticed that there is one of the pictures of Jordan Morris where he's wearing the jacket, like it's a caramel color jacket just over his shoulders and is standing. They directly referenced an Jaime Leon Dor. I am sure that I mispronounced that brand name, but it is a very trendy, high fashion brand. They directly referenced a shoot for this photo shoot. High fashion menswear was the reference point, and it's very heritage brand stuff that, yeah, I think the styling of the shoot, from the set to how they dressed the guys, all comes together really well to make it feel elevated.
Yes.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I would say as far as photo shoot, and clearly the photo shoot is, you're not buying the photo shoot, but that's a great photo shoot. I don't think I can overstate how much I love. I don't think I've ever said this about any rollout the Sounders have ever done on a kit. This is a great photo shoot. If this is in-house people that did all this work, I'm blown away. I assume it is all in-house. But this is exceptional work.
Yeah, I am pretty sure that it is all in-house folks. And well, yeah, you don't buy the photo shoot. A photo shoot like this also is very instructional in how you can wear it. Maybe you don't own those exact pieces, but it gives you really good ideas of you probably are not going to wear a full kit. That's just probably not the way that you're going to wear it. But it gives you an idea of oh, I could wear this with whatever. That knowledge makes it much easier to then justify I'm going to buy a jersey because I could wear it beyond just when I go to soccer games or whatever.
And, even though we aren't probably going to go full kit wanker on this thing, although, man, I am actually a little jealous of whoever gets to wear the primary kit at the media game this year. Fingers crossed. Every year I've been primary kit. Fingers crossed I get to be primary kit this year, just because I want the picture of me in that whole kit. But the way we consume the kit almost exclusively is by watching the team play. And this is going to look just iconic on the field. I think in 10 years, we're going to look back at this kit and be like, why is that not a permanent thing? And then we'll have another argument about whether or not that should be a thing. But I think this is going to age really well. I think it's going to look great on the field. I'm really excited to see that's really what we care about ultimately, right? Sure, you might buy a jersey. You're not going to wear, even if you buy a jersey, how many times you're going to wear it, but you're going to watch them play, 40, 50 games in this thing. And that's what's fun about it, is that it's going to look good in video games. It's going to look good on TV. And man, I got to say, the Sounders have some really photogenic players. That João Paulo, that picture of João Paulo carrying the Champions League trophy is about as iconic of an image. They had this image where a bunch of players and Schmetzer are sitting sort of the panoramic of the photo shoot. Oh my gosh. Good stuff.
That picture is great. It's also it's an incredible photo, and it just is low-key very funny because you look through and it's all these memorabilia from winning trophies and the game happening on the field, and then next to John Bell is Sammy Sounders' head, the head from the costume. Yeah. It just is, it's really wonderful. Your point that in 10 years, because this kit altogether looks so good, it has the potential to be this iconic thing. Mark again gets another shout. He had a couple tweets where he was talking about like the checklist that he has for what he needs before he really forms an opinion on a new kit. And one of those things is like, does the team play well in it or not? And you know, I think the Sounders have a history of playing well in pretty much all of their kits except for the Olympic whites. The curse of them doesn't need to be discussed any further. But you know, assuming they win things and they lift trophies wearing this, there's absolutely that potential that this becomes an iconic thing. And it feels very tied into, some people are unavoidably going to be upset that this wasn't more of a direct throwback to
or even a classic or even a more classic rave green look, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like more of what I've seen has been, because this is the 50th anniversary, this kit should have been more of a direct reference to that first season, whatever you think of that, from like the unveiling of the plan to redesign the visual identity to the rollout of the visual identity. The club's talking points have really been much more that like, we are not going to go back to the start of our 50 years.
Yes.
This is not about the last 20 years. This is about the last 50 years and form where we are today. And today we start moving into where we are for the next 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like taking the last 50 years, synthesizing what the team has become, and planning something for what the team can be 50 years from now. And you know, the idea that like, this kit looks incredible. It by all means could be the thing that you think of in 50 years when the team is looking on their 100th anniversary.
Right.
People are like, well, I hope they go back to that in some way.
Right.
I think it is a really remarkable thing.
Yeah, I really I've come around to be really into this. I will say that I put out a poll. It's not very old at this point, but I am this is going to be I'm live checking the poll to see what people think. And so right now we got about 268 votes we have 268 votes cast on our Twitter poll, and 45% are saying they love everything about it. And then it ticks down from there. Only 17.5% say they really don't like it. So, you know, you got 80+% that love at least something about this kit. And I don't know. I really do like it. I love that baby blue, aqua blue, whatever we're calling it. I think that is a good look. I've long wanted. I heard some people say that they would have rather seen white shorts with this. I'm glad they didn't go with white shorts. I think the blue shorts break it up really nicely. The one element of this kit that I am curious about, and again, this is one of these things where no one, and I mean literally no one, like I don't think anyone owns green Sounders shorts, even though the Sounders wear green shorts semi-regularly when they're on the road. But I am wondering if there's going to be a second pair of shorts that go along with these because I guess there's a few teams that there's some reason they need to have a full green kit for some opponents. So I'm curious if there's going to be a green short that goes with these, or some other white short or something else that goes with these.
Yeah, I would kind of hope that it's a green short. I feel like a white short would feel stark.
I don't love white shorts with colored tops. I actually don't love white shorts, period, with anything.
Yeah, I think it would feel weird, especially because I feel like they'd have to do different socks if they did white shorts, because white shorts and then the white socks would be a lot. Suddenly it's a predominantly white.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
As a whole,
I guess it could go, because usually what they do when they have green shorts is they also wear green socks. So that
I think
it's like a
green shorts would make more sense personally, but you know, I don't make those decisions.
No, we'll be curious to see if that comes out. The other thing that's cool about this is that we've started to see a little bit more actual streetwear coming out. Like I saw Simply Seattle had a bomber jacket, a blue bomber jacket with that looks great. I don't know if I could pull it off, but I think like a lot of the stuff that comes out, I don't know that I will ever wear it, but it looks good on others, and I appreciate that. And I just like that there's a variety of stuff that's out there, and so I'm really curious to see the way that this new branding is used, because that new color palette is just so much more flexible. It's obviously a much wider spectrum. A lot of people have been asking, is this our new blue? And I just keep telling them there's not necessarily just a blue. It's a range of
range.
blue.
Yeah.
And this is within that palette.
Yeah. I do think we're going to see a lot of the aqua. I mean, we've already seen that's what they wear for their training stuff.
Yep.
The warm-ups. Yeah. I am really excited to see, like, especially to see what more comes out from the team themselves, the like official brand lines. But I'm going to buy one of the jerseys very soon, I think.
Have you seen and have you had a chance to form much of an opinion of the other jerseys that have been released at this point?
There are some really sharp ones.
What stood out
a bunch
to
of
you?
them. I'm pulling up the list from MLS just so that I can be sure I don't miss any. The DC United one is
I like that one.
really great with like the Art Deco like square pattern is really cool.
What do you think of
Red Bull?
The red, I like the Red Bull.
Cool.
I like that one.
Lot.
I think one of the more controversial is the wrong word. One of the ones that I suspect there will be more spread opinion on is the RSL kit, which has the sort of mountain range and stripes. Did you see this one?
I did. I kind of like it. I think I liked it more when it was the version that came out from EAFC.
That's not funny. I had the same reaction.
I think in that version, like the stripes were a little bit thicker, it seemed like. For whatever reason, it just, and I personally, internally, every time someone has been like, oh, the Bruce Lee kit doesn't look like a Sounders kit, have kind of scoffed.
Yes.
But this RSL one doesn't feel like an RSL kit for some reason. It feels like
even though it's all their colors.
Yeah, but it feels like a design that should be on a Rapids jersey and not an RSL one for some reason.
Well, not for some reason. I think now that I look at it, I agree. I think it's partly because the logo, the Rapids logo looks like it was just printed on a RSL jersey.
Yeah, it's a cool design though.
It is a cool design. I like it. I just don't know that. And in fact, I would say most of these, so for what's come out, which are, maybe a dozen-ish jerseys, the only one I really don't like, I think is actively bad, is probably the TFC one, which I think has to win the award for worst community kit. It's nothing. It is. There is things on there that they don't come out real good in this photo, but it's effectively a white shirt with some like light printing on it.
Yeah, it's got like a very light gray shield, I think. It's a weird design. I think
it feels like it's out of like what's the game that when EA was getting big, there was another game that had all fake names.
Pro Evo.
Yeah, it's like exactly. That's what it feels like to me. What did you think of the Timbers kit, which I have decided to call the Galifianakis kit?
I think that's great. It is 100% between two ferns. The idea of it is really cool. I really like that going from like floral patterns to a like still botanical, but it's like greenery is really cool. I don't like centered crests
I
on
don't either.
kits.
Yeah.
And especially the layout of like white with the bluish pattern along the sides and then centered stuff makes it look like a training top to me.
It also, the thing that's tough about patterned kits like this is that if the two, so there's the chest piece and then the arms. So however you describe the way those come together, like for instance, like in a really high end Hawaiian shirts, the big thing is that when you button it up, they meet, right? Like
they complete. Yeah.
They complete. And these do not do that, which gives it a cheap feel to me.
I agree. I think it's also, I don't know, and this is like an Adidas templates thing, but that the pattern only exists on the front and the sleeves.
Right.
And like the sleeve joining over the shoulders, because it's, I guess, technically a raglan sleeve. It exists on that part, but stops where the shoulder connects to the back. Yeah, it feels like it could have been really, really cool, and instead just has cool elements.
Yeah, like I think this is a universal thing on at least this version of the Adidas kit, is that they keep they don't put any patterns on the back, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think it's not just, I'm sure that's partly them being cheap, but I don't think it's just them being cheap. I do think there's a legibility issue, especially when you have, like stripes or whatever, like that can make reading the numbers harder. So I'm willing to like cede the ground on that. But in this particular kit, it's set up almost explicitly to allow for legibility in between. Why not have that pattern? It would look a lot better. I think it would really change the feel of that jersey if they had the pattern on the back.
Yeah, I think it's also, the legibility is a big factor. There's also, if you look at pretty much any of the authentic kits, including the Sounders one, the material used on the back of the jersey, that back panel is a different material
it's
than the
more
front.
breathable.
It's a looser mesh, so that it is more breathable.
Sure.
It seems like the kind of thing that progressively replica jerseys seem like they just get worse as the authentics get more expensive.
Yeah.
It seems like they could, I think they charge something like $75 or $80.
$100 for the replica.
If you're going to charge that much, you could do a full printing on the back. Like,
yeah. If you're charging $100 for a replica, like it wasn't that long ago that the authentics were $100.
Yeah.
So I will say that's another element that I do like about the Sounders kit is I do like that they have this, and I think that's pretty across the board, but I do like the stripe that runs all the way along the side. Like I like that. I just think that adds a level of completeness to make it feel like a fully designed thing. Where do you fall though on the pricing of this stuff? I don't think the Sounders one is among the more expensive. I think it was in the, if I'm correct, I believe they're $165, which is certainly not, I'm not going to sit here and say that's cheap, but that's on the cheaper end. It's $159, $160, we'll call it. But some of these jerseys are pushing closer to $200.
Yeah, I was looking just to try to see if this is an MLS thing or if it's an Adidas thing or what. And if you buy from the MLS store, the jerseys are like $10 or $15 more than if you buy them direct from Adidas. I think they're typically authentics from Adidas are $150. Doesn't matter if it's an MLS team or a Premier League team, like a Manchester United kit and a Sounders kit cost the same if you get the authentic or the replica. It is just like if you buy directly from the MLS store for whatever reason you are buying from them rather than other people, maybe there's an affiliate link from a blog that you subscribe to and are a big fan of.
Right.
That would
Just
be a
to put
great
that out
reason,
there.
I think. Just, if you're considering it.
Right.
There's some degree of like, I don't know, I work adjacent to this industry and like stuff is expensive. It's expensive to make things. Like, I get it. It's a lot of money to spend for jerseys though, especially if you're like a person who supports multiple teams. Like the Reign are going to drop 2 new jerseys this year. If you are contemplating like, well, do I want to get 2 new Reign ones or do I want to like it gets to be a lot if you want to buy jerseys, and more there is no incentive to buy a replica because you get an ugly looking shirt.
Yeah, it does seem like they have purpose. It's like they keep doing the replicas as a sort of we've promised that we will make a cheaper version of this, but they used to be a slightly different material, but basically had all the same design elements. But maybe they didn't have all the patches or whatever. But now they just they fully cut corners on basically everywhere they can cut corners. Like it's it used to be like it's a different patch. Okay, it's a different patch, but now they cut corners everywhere. And as I look more into it, I think looks like everyone's around 160. It's where you get to 200 is where you get the personalization on the jersey. But it's a lot of money. I'll be honest, I've never paid that much for a jersey. I have only bought jerseys on discount. Like that's just I can't not do it. Like it's in my DNA. I suppose if you're someone who is going to spend $150 on a kit, spending $165 on a shirt isn't that different, but it does feel like this is getting out of control. I mean, you can go out and buy a Ballard FC jersey for what, 75, and that's like the authentic. That's got and those are pretty cool looking kits.
Yeah, they look great. It is the big manufacturers charge a premium for their products. You add licensing on top of that from teams and leagues, and it all adds up pretty fast, and it doesn't benefit anyone except for like Adidas. The teams don't even get that much of a cut of jersey sales. Like they I know that's a little bit. Right. They're like, we sold the most on MLS soccershop.com, but that's basically it. You get justification to get a third kit sometimes, maybe.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so a lot of people have asked if the Sounders are getting, if this is like, there's been a legitimate question people have asked, is this the Sounders third kit or is this the new primary kit? This is the Sounders new primary kit, just to be totally clear. And all the reporting I've done is 2025 is when the Sounders are most likely to get a third kit. Now, I guess there's 2 ways of thinking about this. On one hand, you go, wow, 2024 was your 50th anniversary. Why would you not just go all out and design and isn't it obvious to have a 50th anniversary kit, right, as your community kit? I think what the Sounders did, and I honestly think I agree, is we're already putting new crest on the jersey. We are already, we're putting we're already reselling the Bruce Lee kit with the new crest, which is also available. We have this new jersey coming out. We have all this new clothing line coming out. It would be a little hat on a hat to put out a third kit this year as well. And so that's something that they can do next year. And I frankly think that makes more sense.
I think a notable factor here is like a lot of stuff in the last year from like a marketing and design side, and not that they like dropped the ball on marketing stuff, but they only have so many people on staff. A lot of things had to like be put on pause while they focused on the rebrand and ramping up for 50th anniversary. You do the design for this kit, and preparations for, there's going to be a ton of stuff that happens over the course of this season for 50th anniversary celebrations. There's only so many people in the club who do this work.
Right.
At a certain point, adding another jersey on it is like spreading people too thin, and you start to, they don't get a ton of revenue from selling jerseys, but there are benefits to how well individual jerseys sell.
Yeah.
You start to cannibalize some of those sales if you drop 2 jerseys in the same season. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And yeah, it would have been cool to have a special 50th anniversary third kit that is like a full retro design. But at a certain point, decisions have to be made of like which things can we do and which things can we not do. And I think ultimately it's probably a good decision to, in my opinion, knock one jersey design out of the park and crush the elements for your 50th anniversary celebration, rather than possibly like having to sort of half-ass a few different things so that you drop an extra kit in one season.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. There were some other, at least from the leaks. I keep putting leaks in quotes because I'm skeptical. But there were 3 teams that went like full retro. The Quakes are going to use like their original NASL logo and go with a red kit. They've done a red kit before, but this is like full blown, I think, a replica of their 1974 kit. The Whitecaps are also going with a full retro kit, including a retro crest. And then Orlando City, who I don't know if this is an anniversary for them or not. I guess maybe it might be their 10th anniversary from when they launched the USL. I'm not totally sure if it's an anniversary for them, but they're using their USL logo, their old USL, the 3-headed lion, which is a choice to go with. Like, it just seems very funny to do it in the same year that 3 teams are celebrating their 50th anniversary, and you're going to go and celebrate your USL anniversary. I mean, it's an anniversary for them. Again, I think that I could have swore they started in 2013.
Yeah, but I do not know. It's an interesting choice for them for sure.
And I also thought it was a neat acknowledgement. The Sounders could have gone with the full-blown retro jock tag, which I think they did in 2014 when they did their 40th anniversary, right?
I believe.
And then this year they decided to that space is reserved for the updated word mark, which I like. I really like that word mark. I think it really accomplishes a lot of what they were hoping to accomplish. It hits the mark. It looks retro, but it feels it's updated, but it has this retro vibe. It's very evocative of the original logo. And frankly, the old logo wasn't that great. I don't think that would have looked so great as a crest. It's just their old logo was a word mark. It was literally just a word mark.
Yeah, I think that would have looked weird. That is one of the other things that I really like about the overall design of the jersey for the Sounders is that it feels appropriate to feature the new crest on it. Like the new crest looks like it is right at home there. The word mark looks great on it, but it's also not like such a serious design that the orca as a neck hit feels out of place.
Right.
The design itself feels like fun and playful enough that the orca also looks like it belongs there. Just
it's a good
turns out the people who designed it were real thoughtful about how they designed it.
Right. It is funny because a lot of the times I think Adidas in the past has been accused of sort of mailing it in on jerseys. And for whatever you think, whether you love them or hate them, I don't think you can viably argue that these are boring. Like these all have real design thought. Now, are they all home runs? I think we can agree they're probably not all home runs. And even on the Sounders one, I think there's room for disagreement here. But I like someone responded, that's boring AF. And I was just like, you can say a lot of stuff about this kit, but I just don't think that particular adjective works. Like you can argue that you don't like it. You can say it's, we all have taste, but to say it's boring, I don't think that doesn't pass the smell test for me. But
yeah, I would agree. I think there are definitely some boring kits that got released this year. That TFC one is pretty boring.
that one's pretty bad. Yeah.
New York City's is pretty boring.
Although, it's funny. I've heard a lot of people really like that New York City one, but it's just it's just black, right? Black with two different.
Right. It's black with the light blue and orange.
I mean,
there aren't any like special design elements or anything.
No. I will say that they got rid of Dude Wipes as a sleeve sponsor, which is a real shame. Dude Wipes.
How will the fellas stay clean now?
Right. I know. Well, I think we've done like 45 minutes talking about kits. I feel like that's probably I
think we covered a lot of ground. We did cover a lot of ground.
Yeah. So Tim, I appreciate you coming on and doing this real quickly. We will have lots more preseason content soon. If in case you don't know, we are planning to do a live podcast next Tuesday. We were supposed to do it this previous Tuesday, but it got moved. I hope too many people didn't show up expecting to see us there. But we're going to do a live podcast next Tuesday at Project 9 Brewery in Maple Leaf. We're going to also be raising funds for my kids' science camp, which will be, great, I suppose. So, but if you want to come out and hang out, we would love to see you. With all that said, Tim, thanks for doing this. We will have lots of written and audio content for you to consume that is not kit focused. But for today, we did kit talk. I hope that's okay with you. I'm Jeremiah Shan. This is No Sadietes. Remember, you'll never get alone.
We love you. Let's win another one.